Hello everyone, this is how to play NES Tetris without rotations part 2. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, you should definitely check it out. But in this session, I'm going to introduce some new things about how to play in a row, which one thing will be the gambling system, which I would call a gambling system. Secondly, I really want to talk about how to stack, which pieces are good for stacking and which are terrible for stacking, and how to avoid situations when you have no place for a piece. So by this topic, I want to talk about a new idea. It's like stack stability, like when your stack is looking good but actually it's really bad. And if you've watched part 1, you know, for example, a 6 white stack is not the end of the word, but it's not really stable because you have only like a couple of options, the long bar and 2 squares, to burn it cleanly. So first of all, I want to talk about the gambling system, and this is really interesting because there will be situations when you have a hole in your stack. So imagine something like this happens, and there is like a 2 white hole. The 2 white hole is pretty easy to solve. You want to tuck a square here, and if you tuck a square here, you are fine. Your stack is like correct. But what happens if your stack is something like this? You have a 3 wide deep but double hole. So basically there is a solution for this one to clean this like cleanly, which is going to be a really low probability combination. This combination needs 3 pieces. So imagine your next piece is going to be given out of 7 pieces, so getting a perfect piece is 1 out of 7. Like the next one is nearly independent, so it's going to be 1 in 49 chances, and the third one is going to be like 1 in 7 to the third power. So that's like a really small chance that your 3 next piece is going to be the exact pieces you need. And also, if you are dependent to clear this hole cleanly without making a new hole, it's also really bad because yeah, you can wait, but by the time you wait, you will have to make a stack on top of it in this area, right? And if you make something in this area, it's just gonna get bigger, and there will be a point when you can no longer like shift anything to the stack, and you will force to place pieces down. So that's like pretty bad. So if your stack is like higher, you can't really afford these gambles, because if you are too high and you gamble and you don't get the piece, your stack is going to crumble because you will get 2 white pieces. You are forced to place them here, and there is a chance that you will not even clear a single line out of a like perfectly shaped stack. So imagine your next piece is a T. You have a safe move. A safe move, what I would say that most of the times will score you higher. So the best place for the T, like expected lines cleared wise, is to place the T, here. Because yes, on the first look, this looks like kind of suspicious. Why would you do this? You created a hole in your stack, and that line is not clearable. Yes, but on the cost of only 1 line, I've created a 4 high setup, which was already created, but another one, a 2 high setup, which is 7 wide, and I'm going to be able to clear this. So basically, you've sacrificed 1 line, but most probably you are going to be able to clear the next 2. So in the other strat, where you just place the T to the really right, it's going to be the same. You discarded 1 line, but you still don't have the opportunity like 100% of the time to clear this like cleanly. The solution for this one is to get a square first and then get the J piece, sorry, and then get an L piece and like skim it. But yes, this is most likely not going to happen, or even if it happens, there will you will force to like shove pieces to the really right and just like hope for anything. So that's like not really good, uh, even if you are forced to like put them to the right, you will eventually make holes. So this makes zero sense to wait for. On the other hand, if you make something like this, which I've showed you, to like place a square here, this is still a risky move, because if you place the J as I've showed you, this is going to block everything which is under, like here. You are not able to collect these lines unless you get an L. And what happens if in the rest of your game you will not get an L? You just gonna like top out without scoring these easy lines. So that's not really a great strategy. Or is it? It's not really good if you want this particular game to go really high, but it's a reasonable thing if you play 100 games and say that, hey, I'm going to get one game when I will get these 3 exact pieces and they're gonna help you out. Yes, but then you're gonna make other things and you will end up with the same situation like a couple lines later, and you have to make the same gamble again. That's again seemingly so lag based. So yeah, for like a couple of times you can make these like gambles, but in the long run, after a certain point, you shouldn't go for this, because if you are still gambling, you will just end up losing at some point. So what you want to do in Noro is to be flexible. By flexible, I mean this is a really not flexible setup, as you will need 3 pieces and all 3 pieces has to be in order. And yeah, that's basically if you have only one solution. This particular thing has another solution, which is like now going to be like a little easier to get, which is if you have the J piece first, you can still take it here, tuck it here, and then if you have an L piece, you can say that, oh, you can tuck it, and this is not a bad stack, because what you are end up with here is a flexible thing. We were talking about this one in part 1, that there are many solutions and most of the solutions doesn't need to be in order, and that is a really big key in no rotations, because if you have a setup which needs multiple pieces in order, that's just a really low possibility that you will end up having those pieces. But if you need 2 exact pieces, but they can be like whatever order, it's much higher chance to clear it, because yes, you can clear this with a T and then take it with an L, and in the other order as well, it's gonna clear this one. And also there is another alternative solution, which is if you have a if you have an S piece first, it's like still fine, and then take the L, but that is a solution in order. So basically you have 3 good pieces here and you can wait for the next piece. Yeah, that's going to happen. At least you have a higher chance to get it like before. So this setup is not that dumb at all after all, because we found like now there are 2 pieces that can help me here. Actually there are no other solutions for this one. So you have 2 pieces to get it, which is out of 7 not that great, but probably going to happen in like a couple of pieces, and then the rest of it is like clearable. So yeah, it's not like that dumb as it looks like. So this was the first thing. Again, the second thing about the gambling system is you can gamble on burning, and that's not that bad, because eventually you can get the pieces, but gambling on like the building part is dumb. So you shouldn't do it like probably ever unless it's the beginning of your game. So imagine the next situation that you have already a couple of like things on your stack and you are waiting, and what is end up happening that you are going to get a little hole here, which is like fine, but then you get a Z piece. So yeah, I'm gonna place the Z piece here, that's fine. And what now? You are dependent. Do you really want to wait here for a J piece? That's interesting question. So imagine my next piece is going to be a square. Should I place the square to the really right? Yes, that's for, I mean, if there is like something in here, it doesn't really matter. So let's just assume that I don't want to burn with the square, and I have to like build with the square. Do I really want to place it here or here? So one of the placements, this one, is a gamble, because you either get your J piece in the next couple of pieces, because you are, I don't know, you have like a couple of chances to clear these things, but that's not really good. So most often than not, you will not get the J piece, and you will end up putting anything here. So your stack is now really unstable. I would say that you really need a piece here that's not going to make your stack good. But if you, I'm sorry, if you place the square here, it makes your stack accommodate more pieces. Now there are no pieces that is going to make a direct hole. Any piece you can place it to the right. So the square is really multifunctional, because you can place a T with it without making a hole. But yeah, that's again causing some problems, but we are not going to talk about it right now. And as you can see, you can place the L piece over it, which is really nice. And also you can place the J piece over it, which is absolutely fine. You can make the overhang with the Z piece, which is, I mean, with the S piece, which is also fine. And also you can like put it under as well. It's not gonna make a hole, and you can place a long bar to the really right as well. So you can like continue your stacking by sacrificing one hole, but your stack is now really stable. If your stack is accommodating every single piece once, that stack is like good. Like more often than not, your stack is good. So you should probably place the square here, unless it's like you are at 0 lines and you want to like maybe I can get lucky, because eventually if you play a couple of games, like say 10 games, and you get this exact situation, get to this exact situation, you will end up having a game when you place the square here and the J comes and you are like really fine without sacrificing this line, because we were never making this hole. So yeah, that's one thing that you can go for, but you have to know that this gamble is dumb. Also, what happens if my next piece is a Z piece? The next Z piece can go here, and this is again really fine, because every single piece can come here except the L piece, but the L piece can also make the overhang. So I can say that this gives your stack stability, but sacrificing one line and potentially keeping the same dependency over to not make another hole. But this is not bad. And if I've done this in my former world record, I think I could have got a little more lines, but I missed it, and I went for a gamble, which is like, yeah, kind of stupid with this one, to place it here. Oh, I'm sorry, like this placement. It's again kind of dumb, but it's not the end of the world, because yeah, you can get lucky and just getting the J piece, But then you are still with a hole, and if that hole is covered with another piece, like another J, you are in bad shapes. Because if you have a 3 wide gap, which is on the side of your board, there is only one solution, and that's the square, and that's another J piece, which is not really going to happen. So what should you do if you have a situation like this? Should you place here a J like ever? No, absolutely no. This is a dumb gamble. Don't do it. Even if you want to be like clean, it's absolutely dumb. There is no reason to do that, like ever. Just try to place it on the left and burn with it, or if you have nothing to do it with it on the left, just place it here, and you will end up getting a long bar. Eventually, you can tuck it and still resolve this hole. This hole is resolvable because if you have a long bar, like a couple overhangs, it's going to be like 3 wide, and probably you can like reopen it if your stack is not like this one, but like something like this one. This is like resolvable many times, because you are going to clear this, and if you place here a square, it doesn't going to affect this hole. You can still like build up, and eventually when you burn after placing the long bar here and making any overhangs, I don't know, like something like this, you are going to be able to like resolve it, and that's fine. Not every single time, but this is a gamble that is like much smarter, because the other gamble was on the stack. You remember when I said that, okay, you should place, if your next piece is a J piece, you shouldn't place it here, because this gamble is dumb. Because if you have something like a Z piece or an S piece or like anything not a square, you cannot build your right anymore. You are forced to burn or place it into awkward places. Don't do that. Don't do like anything like this. This is just extremely stupid and no solutions at all. So yeah, don't do it. Just sacrifice that one line, even in a high score game. It makes zero sense. Okay, but what makes sense is gambles that are solvable and you can get them. And I'm going to like show you a really interesting example with this one, which is the example of this one. This is a really common stack in Noro, what you are seeing right now, and your next piece is a long bar. What will you do here? Like most of the players, I would say, if they see this board, they are going to take the burn. And taking the burn here is absolutely not dumb. So there are arguments that this is like still fine and you can do it and blah 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 blah, but actually you are really dependent again, and most of the times this is not worth it if it's like a low board. If this is already like near your PB, you should take this burn and hope for the best, because that's like one extra line. But after you taking this burn, your stack is losing stability, because yeah, imagine I clear this line, and by clearing it, I mean I'm going to like place everything one row down. What is the solution here? So basically you have two pieces that can come here, which is one of them a long bar, but that creates a really awkward burning pattern on the left. So yeah, the long bar is not really good. And your other solution is the Z, which is again really awkward, because okay, if you want to skim it, you can skim it with a J piece, but then you are forced to place a T here, and again, two squares are really awkward. Again, what else can you do with this stack? Sorry, you can tuck an L piece here and set up for another L piece, but then again you are still going to be dependent on a third L piece, which is not really smart. Why not gambling at the first place when your stack was something like not this, but a row up, when it was looking like this, and sorry, it was like this and this. So why not just not taking the burn, just place the long bar here, because eventually you will need L pieces to burn this. But now if you have an L piece and you tuck it here, your stack is clean. It's much better because you are not dependent on a first L piece. You can get the L piece first and then wait for a T, or you can get a T and then waiting for an L, or also you can get the S and then the L, which is going to be much better because these are moves that are not like clearable with like one or two solutions, but has many solutions. So keeping your burning options flexible, it's much better. So you can gamble on burning patterns and saying that, oh, eventually I will get that in order, or like get those pieces. But when you want to gamble on your stack, so maybe I will get a square here, that's just not gonna happen. Like most of the time this is a really dumb gamble, and you should only make these gambles, these kinds of gambles, when it is early game and you can still reset after like a couple of pieces, and you know you are not getting anything here. That's just it. Okay, you can call it and restart, reset, and whatever. But when you get the T, well, I mean when you get the square here, you are still not out of woods, because now I'm going to introduce a new thing, which is stack stability. This is a really good stack by any mean, but this stack is much better. So if you have your right, and on your right there are like two dots next to each other, it's a really great shape, because all of the pieces can come here. There are no pieces that are going to make you an exact hole. So any piece is good, because even after I place something like, I would say a J here, there are still two pieces, even more pieces, not just two, like 3 or 4, which can come here. And yeah, that's cool, because yeah, you can place the S here, you can place the T here, and also there is this strange solution which is also like good with the L and the long bar. So yeah, this is a stable stack because you have many solutions for it. But if your stack is looking like you have 3 dots on top, that's not really good, because if you have now a J piece and you want to place the J piece on top of it, now you see the problem. It's still not bad, but not really good. The last stack was much better because you had many solutions. Your stack was accommodating many pieces, but now your stack stability is lowered because you only can tuck here a long bar, or you can tuck here an L piece. But do you really want to place your L pieces on the stack? Do you remember that L pieces are crucial to burn on the left, because those are the only pieces that has amino on the left and no other pieces. So eventually you will need them to burn anything here. So yeah, that's kind of not really the way you want to go. And also, when you are building and your build is 4 wide, that's kind of bad. I'm not saying that it's almost like losing, or like you're gonna end up not burning these, because there are solutions. But generally speaking, you have much less solutions to get these lines, because you can never place a long bar like next to a 4 wide stack. It's going to lock everything down on the bottom. And also the problem here with these kind of stacks, that it's really hard to like widen it to 7 wide, because we know our mindset is to just get it to 7 wide. And how can you get it to 7 wide with a 3 wide piece? And yeah, you can see that there are not many combinations that can help you achieving that. Yes, of course, you can get something like a Z, and then on top of like something like a J, and oh, it's like kind of fine. Yes, that's true. But other than that, there are really not many things to like build, and it's a problem. So yeah, there is probably another one with a T. So first the T is going to make this shape, and that's like fine. But generally speaking, it's not really good. So if you can avoid this, making it like 4 wide for a really long high, that you just want to avoid. It's much better to place the long bar here, because now it's not 4 wide, but it's like 5 wide, and with a 2 wide piece, like any 2 wide piece, it's going to be 7 wide, and we already know that it's like much better. So yeah, that's one reason. And like following this reason, now we know that there are pieces that are really good at uh, building your stack, and those pieces are the square, the J, and the Z pieces, with the square as well. Square is really important as well to build up, but not that important as the Z piece and as the J piece. So if you have a chance, like imagine your stack started with a Z and you got lucky and you got to place a J over, and your next piece is a Z piece again, and after the Z piece you are getting a J piece. What should you do? When I was watching others playing, they were tend to see that, oh, there is a hole on the bottom, I have to resolve that hole. So they were tucking the Z piece, and then the J piece went to the really right. And I wouldn't say that this is a bad decision, but definitely not really good, because their stack lost so much stability that it's going to spiral out most likely. I'm not saying that 100%, because you can get an L or a long bar or another L and long bar or a square, and like saying that it's like fine. But what happens if you get a T or 2 T's? Can you still survive? The answer is no. Like your stack is really not able to like do anything with the T, or with 2 T's especially not. What you should have done here is that placing the Z on the right, like this one, and placing the J over, because this stack is much more stable. Now you cannot name a single piece that is bad here. You cannot. That's just the truth. Because yeah, you can place a T here. Even 2 T's are accommodatable without making a new hole. And can you see that how much more effective this stack compared to the other one? It's like crazy. I would say that like 4 times more. You have 4 times more chance to not create a hole until you score like 5 lines out of this one than from the previous one. So this is a much bigger improvement. And also, what I tend to understand is that what happens if your next piece here, sorry, not here, but like after, no, I mean, that's just not happening, right? So what happens if your board is like, you got a square and then you got a J piece, and your next piece, I mean, your next piece is a Z, but after the Z you are facing a square. That's interesting, right? So let's imagine your current piece is a Z piece and your next piece is a square at this situation. What would you do? Like when I face this situation for the first time and I know about the stacking, I would say that, oh, just go to the right and place the square on top of it, and it's fine to like sacrifice one line. But the truth is that you can make a hole with the Z somewhere on the board where it's not problematic and resolvable. And I would say this strategy is to, if you have a bad piece at the beginning of your game, or even like higher, but your stack is like flat, up until a point, it's really fine to shove the Z piece here and place the square over. Why? There are many reasons that this is like 7 times better or like 10 times better than the other one. First of all, of course, you are not making a hole, but hey, Zoltan, you made a hole here. No, that's actually temporary hole. There are many ways to resolve it because I have 2 plus 2, which means I end up with 6. So like any 3 white combinations, can clear this except 2 else. So this line is guaranteed to be cleared even with a square and a long bar. It's just naturally a good thing. And after that point, I can, because this is on the burning side, I can still wait for a piece to like, oh, maybe I will get an L and get this. This is a good stack. And also, not to forget that my stack is still stable. I can still accommodate every single piece because now the Z is not a bad piece. It's really not a bad piece because if another Z comes, you can place it here. But hey, Zoltan, why didn't you place the Z at the first place here and the square there? That's correct. That's the second best move. What you can do if you are already burning on the left, so it's not at the beginning of your game or at the beginning of a building stack. You can be like hardboard. This is the best thing because don't place a Z to the really right if your next piece is a square and you are having at least 3 minnows on your stack, on the top of your stack, because this is solvable with many piece combinations. So with a T and the J, you can solve it with a J and the square. You can solve it with what else? With an L, like instantly. And these combinations doesn't need to be in order. And if these, except the T plus the J. So if these combinations show up on your current and next pieces, you can go for it. And if they are not, you can like do something else. So this is a gamble. This is a stack on your, I mean, this is a shape on your stack, but not on your burning half of your gameplay, which is like good because this is solvable with many solutions. There is a high probability that like shoving one more piece here, like a bad piece here, or like anything, or a long bar like on the bottom, or like anything, eventually you will get a combination that is going to like solve this cleanly. And that's your whole point. That's why you make the stack, to make things cleanly. So you don't want to make holes, except they are for a reason, for like you don't have a better placement. But that's again a good, I mean a bad situation, but because why you made that stack which was not able to accommodate the piece, maybe you get like extremely unlucky, or to sacrifice one line, but for the greater good that your stack is now going to accommodate more pieces. That's the whole reason. That's why it's good to like build. So again, which stack is like better? This is a good stack. The answer is obviously no, because if you have a vertical line, which is like this one, it's not a good stack. You can only solve these kind of shapes with squares. Like eventually you can like delay them with a like couple pieces or something, but if you want to solve them cleanly, you will need squares. So having a vertical wall like this, like when it's like there are no like dumping outs, that's like bad. You should really avoid them unless it's already 5 wide, because 5 wide is good. Yes, because eventually you will get squares, and the square here is already making our dream scenario, and that's fine. So this is the only exception when I like to make like these really weird looking shapes. Unless this one is like the case, what you should do is having like little holes and overhangs, but not overhangs when there are two two deep holes, but just one. Because if you have like this one hole, Now even the awkward pieces, which are the T, the Z, and the S, can be placed here. And also, not to mention that, because if you have a 4 white thing with the hole in it, you can clean it. You can skim it with, for example, 2S. So like 3 white pieces are also good here, which is like fascinating. And also, not to mention that even a long bar can be good here, because if you place a long bar somewhere like here, you can still solve it, or you can place a square here, and this is I would say, the perfect clearable stack in no row when you have this like three deep 7 wide stack with one extra minnow. It doesn't matter where is the extra minnow, you can always clear this cleanly. So this is just going to evaporate, and anything under that is going to remain. And you don't need to get like extremely lucky. This is the kind of shape you are looking for, because this is most often perfectly clearable. So now we know what kind of stack we want to get and how to gamble for things when you have multiple solutions. I'm sorry, but like realizing and learning what kind of situations and what kind of like burning patterns are good, it's really hard and needs lots of learning. But probably in a couple weeks you can learn most of it from your games, and like just watch them back, think about every single placement, and you will find it out. So it's really not that hard, but it's not going to happen on your first try, because you need to like at least see the opportunities once, which is like interesting. And what I want to talk about right now we know that what kind of pieces do I need to build, what kind of pieces do I need to like burn, and what kind of shape do I want on my stack, is to talk about where should I tuck awkward pieces. So imagine your stack is like a perfect stairway, but if it's like this one, you are really happy, because again your stack is accommodating everything and the long bar can burn it. So why this is so good? After a long bar burns this one, and your stack is going to look like this one, now you have multiple solutions to keep up with the perfect stack. And that's why it's so good to have a stairway like this, and maybe not like exactly that, because that's like impossible, but like this one. It's really important to note that this is like you can keep it up and play on for every single line here, because you can see that there are solutions with the S and another long bar, but there are solutions with the square and like two kind of the 3 white pieces. So there are many solutions to fill the gaps with a staircase. So that staircase is like perfect thing that you can have. But what I wanted to talk about is, imagine that you are getting kind of unlucky, and your next piece is a long bar, and the long bar is kind of bad here, sorry, because yeah, you can make this like awkward overhang, and if you have a T, then it's perfect. Oh, I'm sorry, because as you can see, you're gonna clear one line and then end up with the perfect stack. But if your next piece is not a T, you don't really want to gamble, because yes, now your stack is pretty high and you don't have much time to get a T. And in NES Tetris, like getting 10 or even 15 pieces without a single T is probable. Not saying that it is going to happen in this game, but you have to know that you can't use this line, because this row, because you have to place the T here, and you can't place this row because then you can't stack the T. So basically what you have here is only the top of your stack. So basically you need to build a new stack out of nothing without placing any bad piece to the left. That's just not gonna happen. You're gonna make many holes on the right, so that's like a bad thing. Then where should I place the long bar? That's a really tough question. Of course, I don't want to place it here. I'm sorry, because again, that's gonna need an L piece, and even if you get the L piece, there is no solution at all for a 3 wide for a 3 wide gap without making one minnow over it. So it's not gonna resolve cleanly even after like a Z and a T. You're gonna end up with still one minnow on your left, and you are still blocking everything. So no, that's out of question. So long bar cannot go on the bottom. Long bar has to go somewhere else. Can the long bar come here? The answer is nope, definitely nope, because this is still really hard to like get it clean. Yes, this is like more probable to get it clean, but you need two pieces and they have to be in order like this, and this is like clearable most probably, even if you have a long bar or like a square or anything. There are multiple solutions for this one, but again you still need two exact pieces in the exact order, and that's just frankly it's not gonna happen like most often than not. So that's a dumb thing to like gamble for. That's why you know that some gambles are good, because the outcome is going to boost you like a really huge one, like with the Z gamble. When I was showing it to you, you are not making a hole and your stack is getting more stable. That's just a win-win situation. But here this gamble is like extremely dumb, because even if you got lucky, you are end up getting nothing out of it. So what you should do with the long bar? So for many times even like if you have this on the stack, it still doesn't matter. You don't want to tuck the long bar to a too wide gap. To a too wide gap, it's really stupid, because what ends up happening is it's going to be 4 wide, and unless your stack is in a specific point where it's like this one and you get another long bar or something like that, it's just dumb. You're just not gonna clear it. So this line, you have to clear everything here, and then maybe you can get a 3 wide plus another 3 wide or a square and two wide or something like that to even like think about clearing this line. So this is like dumb. It's not really good. You can tuck a long bar here. That's why I placed there the J, because if there is like one minnow, it's only can come from a J, and this is like fine, but it's not really that great, because eventually you still need to like resolve the staircase. So what is the best placement? Now you all know it's like this one. But why is it so good? Because now there are two pieces that is going to clear my stack perfectly, and I like it. So it doesn't matter if the piece that I'm going to tuck here is going to be an S piece or a T piece. They are both like basically the same. It's just going to make the hole like one row deeper, and this is not a bad thing. So I just wanted to show you that having one like little holes in a perfect 7 wide stack, it's good. It's absolutely not the end of the world, because you can tuck here anything, like like literally anything that is tuckable here is good. So placing the L here is good but not optimal, because you will need two more L's, because one is needed to clear this one and one is going to be needed for this clear, and again it's still dependent. So that's like not the best thing you can do, but it's still solvable. You have a solution. Which is much better is to place the S or the T again here, but you can place the Z as well if there is like no other thing, because after you do it, as I said, that this is a perfect stack for no row for a burning well, because there are many solutions here that can clear this cleanly. So it's like not that bad. I just wanted to show you that it's the same to have the S here, because again after a T and an L you will still need another L. So basically you need two L's and one T or another S, which is like fine. But the other one after the T is the same thing, because if you have the L you see, it's the same thing. You will still need one more S. So eventually it's the same thing. You need two S to clear after the S or after the T, which is still like kind of within like probable, like likely scenarios that it's going to happen even at this high. So like having one hose, it's not bad. Having two hoses in the stack, we've already discussed, it's not really good, but not that bad, because now I need three LPCs, which are, I would say at this position, probably you are still going to get, but not in every game. So you can say that this is like absolutely fine. You need to get a little lucky for this one, because after you place the L, you know that it's not bad, but I will still need one L to clear the first one and one L to clear the second one. So that's like not really that good. uh, okay, having three horse, it's basically deadline, because you cannot place a long bar under your stack, so that's like bad. So three wide gaps in the stack are not really resolvable. What else you can have like two holes, like this one, like it's here. The best solution for this one, I've already showed you, it's a J and then an L, and it's like clean. But you can still do the square tuck and do the same which I've told you like a couple seconds ago. Two S, two T's, or like you can change the T's to S's, and you can clear this. So it's like not that bad. Okay, again, so the two wide gap was something really interesting, because most often, yeah, the obvious solution here is a square. And yeah, we are not gonna talk about the square, but there is another solution which is like fascinating to even like exist, and that's like really good if your next piece is something like an S piece, or I don't know, maybe a T piece, which you don't really want to place it like on the bottom. You can place the J piece here, and this is something I was unable to find for a long time. I think this was the piece combination I was struggle to like see, because it's not even this is the only good way to like do it here. You can do it in like stacking wise. So when your stack is something like this, there is a square shape here, and it's like going to make your stack 4 wide. It's the same thing. Don't place the square here, that's a dumb move. What you should do is placing the J here, and then placing the, oh, I'm sorry, the S here, which is now, as you can see, after a long bar or after a square, it's perfect. It's much easier to make your stack 7 wide, to like widen it. And these little things, like when you go for the square, it's fine for that thing. But there is another solution which is a little better, and after you are clearing many lines, there will be a point when these small things are going to add up and eventually make it more likely for me to have a higher score than for somebody who is making the lower probable things. Okay, I'm making like these lower probable things at the beginning of my games, because I know that I can get lucky and I can get a perfect stack going, and once I have a perfect stack, I'm going to build it up like these, with these little things that I already know. And that's why it's really important to understand that when there is a shape which you see that, oh, this is a square shape, I should definitely place a square here. No, that's incorrect. You should place the square here for two reasons. One reason is now your stack is more stable, you can accommodate more pieces, and secondly, it's much easier to burn it later when you gamble here for a J piece and not go for the obvious move. This is just much better, trust me. This is like, I don't know, like going to score you 3-4 more lines if you make this move than the other one. So why is it so good? I just wanted to show you that in the building process, the reason it's better, because you can place the T and you can place the S here like under it, and it's clean. And here it's not the reason, because you can place the T or the S under. It's because you can burn with them, even with the S and even with the T. And after you resolve it with an L piece, what ends up going to happen is having one hole, which we already discussed that it's not that bad, it's actually good, because you can clean it, I mean clear it with many piece combinations. So that is really important to understand. And also if you are having this like 3 wide gap, is the same thing we were talking about. You don't really want to place the square first here, because yeah, that's seemingly obvious, but the T or like anything else is probably better there, because you will end up setting up one more line after the square. It's still not clear if you get another square. Of course, if your next piece is a square, this is the best placement for them. But if it's like not the case, I'm not entirely sure that if this is a good thing. Again, if you're playing a game and the hole is here, the T is 100% sure that it's like really good here. But the other one I've shown you, seemingly no difference, but there is a really big difference. Do you really want to place a T here? It's absolutely not that bad, but this is not discarding only one line, but 2 lines, because now the bottom line is also unclearable. So this is like really interesting. And again, if I want to like talk about one more thing which is like really interesting, if your current piece is an S, oh I'm sorry, is an S, and your next piece is an L, how do you want to burn on the left? That's really interesting, because do you want to keep the S tugged and then taking the burn with the L, or do you want to place the S here and then clear it? So basically, this is not a bad solution, but a little worse, because after I place here the L and clear this line, what ends up happening is I have a flat left, and I can't clear the first line without the help of a J or an L, because I need a J or an L and then a 2i piece to even have the chance to clear the bottom one. Meanwhile, when I was tucking it here, if I would tuck it here, what would end up happening is a T shape, and there is still chance to clear this one like cleanly. So if you have an odd number stack, this is better. If you have an even number stack, the other one is a little better. And these are again really small things to like see, but they can help you eventually to get better at the game. And one more thing is that you don't need to rush with if you have a perfect stack like this one. This is a really perfect stack. You have many lines ready to go and be cleared. And if your stack would be looking like this one, because there are many 7 wide, I mean many 4 wide stacks, you don't really want to take the burn with this piece. That's just the case. You really want to place it here, so you have more setup. Eventually you're gonna clear these, but now you made a 4 wide stack turn into a 7-1, which is not just a small victory but a really big victory, because as I told you, like 4 wide stacks like generally going to escalate to a 6 wide stack, and it's only clearable with log bars. Yes, you need some of these, like a couple, 1 or 2, but not many, because if you have too many, there are no chance to you like get many log bars. That's just how the game is. So now we've learned how to like improve our stacking, how to widen it to like 7 wide, and we learned that having holes in the stack is like absolutely not that bad. And again, if this is the stack and you have a T, you don't need to take the burn with the T. You can even tuck the T here, which is like again better, because if you have an L, there is the little hole, and we were talking about if there is like a 3 by 3 hole, when there is an extra minnow on the right side, there are many solutions for this one. So now we learned this one too, but we don't learn how high should I stack? What is the turning point when I should stops stacking up? And that is a really hard question. So many times, if the stack is like this high, as you can see it right now, building anymore on the right is not really a great idea. So basically, what you have is probably you should take burns. So if your next piece is an L, I mean, sorry, it's a J, and your next piece is a J. Don't place the J on top of it. That's just dumb, because you are now killing the potential for your stack. You are making dependencies, but not making your stack accommodate many more pieces. It's just going to accommodate one more piece, but that piece would never go here because the L piece you want to burn with it. So this placement is dumb. That's why even placing it here is better, because now like you have places for long bars, but the best of course to burn with it. So there are times when you can say that no, I can't like stack up any higher. I really have to burn to make room for a potential square or a potential Z plus J piece combination to make my stack more stable. That's why sometimes, for example, here, if your next piece is a Z, you really want an S. So if your next piece is an S, you really want to place the S here, because that's the best thing here, because you have to solve this one like cleanly. But imagine your next piece is your current piece is an S, and your next piece is the J. Do you really want to do it? You want to place it here? No, because you then don't have a place for your next piece, which generally wants to go here, but there is no space for it. And that's why if you can't continue the stacking, you see that you're gonna place this in an awkward place. That's why you should take the burn with this one, because there is still more piece combinations that can help you here than that can help you on top of the square, because still you can place like a T here or another S or a long bar square, so like many solutions. But on top you don't really want to place something like a Z or something. So as you can see that most probably taking the burn here is better, and placing the next piece on top of it, and that's just it. So when I would say your stack which is like accessible, if you end up with 2/3 of the matrix, so around like I don't know, the 14th or a 13th or maybe even 15th line, there shouldn't be more stacking anymore. Stacking is going to like lose you more than win you more, because the best thing, the main idea to like build like this, it's good because you're gonna be able to wait for pieces, but now you don't have time for waiting pieces. So you should go back for another strategy, which were the main strategy for many years, is just to like make a one line clears possible, and don't cover it. So for example, if you have something like this and your next piece is this one, don't place it here, because now you end up with a dependency. Just shove it to like somewhere else, for example here, and with two white pieces you can clear this, and that's your goal. You're just going to focus on one lines, and that's it. You have a laser focus on, oh, I'm going to clear this one. And then once you got something to clear it, you're gonna think about how can I solve this one. If you have a T, for example, you will needing another 2 white. So basically your solutions for a line which is like 10 white, going to be most likely a 3 white piece, another 3 white piece, and a 2 white piece, and another 2 white piece, because there are 3 2 white pieces and there are 3 3 white pieces. This is basically the idea, but still the idea goes on if you have like middle things middle vase, because that's going to end up happening eventually. Because if you have a T, you can't shove it to the really right, you don't want to waste it in the middle, and eventually you will end up with like these interesting middle stack setups and middle wells. I don't know if it's a well in Noro, but you I think understand what I'm meaning. Is it still ends up with, if you place any 3 white here, still any 3 white can burn this. So you want to end up with 1 Mino or with 2 Mino, but this was like discussed in Scouts video about no rotations. So if you haven't watched that video, you should watch it, and there are many like interesting solutions for this strategy, what you should do and what you should not do. Like a 3 white gap which is like too deep, it's good, because again, what we were talking about, any 3 white can burn this one, so it's like good. Again, do you really want to place a Z here? No, that's incorrect, because now you've limited yourself to 2 3 white pieces. Meanwhile, you would place the Z piece here, you still having access to all 3 white pieces, which is higher probability, and that's what you want to preserve at the end, high probabilities with these cleanings. But I have to tell you that I'm not really the expert of the endgames, and many times if I play these endgames, I'm making really dumb mistakes. So probably it's not the best to learn it from me. You can figure out it by yourself, and I would say that most probably it's better than if you like listening to my explanations, because I still don't have a really good endgame strategy, like how to exactly doing these. But there is a really interesting thing, and that is happening many times, that if you have the chance to like do this like a normal stacking, you still should do it. And imagine that you have like a Mino here, I don't know, like this, and your next piece is a long bar. What I was doing for many time, that I've placed the long bar to the really left, or I place the long bar on top of it, which both are of course incorrect. This is incorrect for a reason. I don't really want to tuck here anything, because anyway there is a hole. So basically I should discard the bottom line, and you see that the long bar is also, if I place it here, it's going to make my stack accommodate even three white pieces, because if I would place it here, sorry, like here, there would be one piece which is the L, which is not good here. And you know what? If you go and watch my current world record game, which is at this time 63, you're gonna see that I've made this mistake. And what was end up happening, I got two of the exact bad piece that was not able to clear the line. And that's why shoving the long bar would be much better on the other side, which was looking ridiculous, and it was a really bad end game. If I don't make that mistake, probably that game should have ended with 70 or like really close to 70 cleared lines. But because I made that mistake, I was forced to like sacrifice 2 or 3 more lines because of that one mistake. So this mistake is, even right now, is really common for me. It's really hard to see why is it better to place it in the middle, not just shoving it to the sides. Like these things, I would say it's still there is still room for improvement in Noro, but you have to learn your stuff, and you have to watch these videos to get better and eventually crush my world record, because it's like possible. So at the end game, so I would say if it's over this line, like sorry, like oh not this one, this line, you should not really build up anymore. So basically if you have like 1 2 3 4 5, maybe even 6 7, so it's like 13 14 or 15 lines, if your stack is above this and there are again like holes in your stacks, so it's starting like here, you should not go for build ups anymore. You should just focus on clearing lines, because it's not worth it anymore. It's gonna make these like awkward things, but you don't have time to tuck and wait for pieces. And if you have many squares and many J's, which are basically good to stack up, you can't use them to stack up because there are a limited space now. So if it's over like the 13 14 or 15 slide, you should stop building. Just stop. Don't do it. Just concentrate on one lines, and you can probably, with the strat on just focusing on every second line, you should still be able to score like 7 to 10 extra lines from this matrix if you are like kind of good RNG, with a kind of good RNG. And if you are having a bad RNG, you should still get like 4 or 5 lines. And if you have a really good RNG, you should get like, I don't know, 10 15 extra lines out of this one. It's like possible. So that's why I would say it is really important to learn the stacking meta, but there is a big limitation for it, because if it's like too high, it is having more problems than good stuffs for your stack, so you should definitely avoid them. So that's why it is really tricky, because there isn't a single solution that you should do this and this. It's like chess. There are situations when this is good or that is good, but like there isn't a common thing that if you do this, it's like 100% the best thing. It's like chess, because it's really dependent on the position, like your stack, because that's what is going to matter. And at the end of the day, that how many lines you can clear. And if you end up doing it with a dumber setup, you are going to be happy. But if you get less lines with what I would say more reasonable stacking, then you're gonna be sad, because that's how it is. So sometimes, because there is a luck involved with the game, which is the RNG, you can't really know what is the best, because you don't see into the future. But you can increase your chances by making smart gambles, which are going to be good, and not making dumb gambles, which are going to add absolutely nothing for your gains. And also, as long you see a solution for the burning, it doesn't matter if it's the best or if it's like slightly worse, as I was showing to you with this one. Sorry, when I was saying that probably like placing a J first, it's not the best thing, because you will need 3 more L's, and that's why placing a square and then the J or the square is better, because if you have a J and then only 1 L needed, and if you have a square, then only 2 L's are needed. So it's like a bit more I would say like better in a way of like pure math and probability. But there will be games when you get 3 L's and you will say, that's like fine, and yeah, you can be happy. So that's why I wouldn't say that, as long you have a clear vision that you want to do it, and you like holding up for that solution, even if it's not the best, there will be games when you get that thing and you get a high score. So I won't hate a move like that, but you can be smarter and look for other solutions which are more probable to occur, and when they end up happening, you get like, oh, I'm so smart, and that's it. So I think I wanted to cover these topics at part 2. So part 3 is coming soon. Stay tuned, and I will, after part 3 and talking about another couple of like general things which are like really misused in others games, I will review games of mine and others and point out these mistakes. Now I know that there would be a better placement for that piece, and probably I'm going to cover some opening strategy, because it is really interesting that like given a really bad RNG, you can still manage to get extremely high scores and like build up a stack which is stable with like 2 or 3 holes. It basically doesn't matter how bad RNG is. Probably with 3 3 holes, you can end up with a stack which is stable, so every single piece can be placed without making a hole or a dependency. And how to achieve it, it's really interesting. So I really want to talk about that one too. So see you next time. Hello guys.